On this week's episode of a series of conversations, I am joined by somebody who is about as far away from me as it is possible to get, and that is Rex Alexander. Rex, where are you?
Hello, Sarah, and how are you going? Can you hear me okay? I'm way down under in Adelaide, Australia. Quickly Google that if you don't know where it is.
I know where it is. I actually have a friend who lives there, oddly.
Perfect.
I know. And something else odd about Adelaide, I think, is that you have a half-hour time zone difference. You're the only place in the world that has that odd half-hour rather than a whole hour time difference.
Yes, we've gone to daylight savings time here in Australia, so there's like 5 different time zones in Australia right now, and it's very confusing. And you know already how confusing time zones can be, but we got it. We're here today. We made it.
Here we are. It always helps when you actually know where the other person is, as far as getting time zones right are concerned, though, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Rex thought I was in London, and I'm actually in Turin. So there we go.
There you go.
So Rex, you're a coach, amongst other things. What is it that drew you to coaching, and what is it that you do?
Thank you very much for asking. I'll try and make this not a 25-minute response. So yes, I'll say to you that I'm a coach. What drove me to coaching, and I'll tell you a bit more about that, is really, I feel like I've been coaching for many, many years. I have 20 plus years of operational management experience in different organizations, and you're always coaching, mentoring, supporting others. And about 4 years ago now, I decided I wasn't quite fulfilled in my work. So I started a blog, no money, of course, it cost me a little bit of money, for leaders. And I just started writing how to be a new leader, and what can help you. And that sort of fulfilled me for a little bit. And then I decided I want more. It's not quite enough. And then I looked at being having my own business, of being a consultant or an advisor or a trainer or a coach. And then I just found coaching and learned a bit more about it as a certified coach and what they did. And I undertook the training. I invested time and money and a decent amount into that certification. Yeah. And fell in love with it. I'm a rough, tough Aussie, but I also tear up a little bit. I'm hopeless with my clients when they have that big insight. I tell you, Sarah, it's embarrassing. But when I discovered to not provide the answer to someone by using a coaching approach, it was one of the biggest shifts in my career ever. And I'm not a young guy, and I've discovered my passion 3 years ago. So if you're 20 something now going, I don't know what to do in life, there's plenty of time, kids. There's plenty of time. Yeah. So what am I now? I'm a leadership and career coach. I work in 2 fairly specific niches. I work with technical experts, and you know, Sarah, these people who are brilliant at what they do. They're high performers in the organization. And then what do? You get promoted, and then you have to look after people. And they're like,
and they don't like you because they
don't like it.
They're nerds. They're nerds. Yes,
nerds.
I know that type.
And they are brilliant at what they do. Yeah. And so what they do is they try and do their old job and the new job, and they can't do both well. So I come in and I help them with a development program. We can talk about this in a minute. A development program where there's training and facilitation, and it's combined with one-on-one coaching. And I'm happy to share anything to do with my business to help you and your followers out there. It's a winning combination. So that's my main niche in leadership. I also dove into other coaching, and I work with career people too who want a promotion, who want to change jobs, who are completely lost. And people want to sort of find that fulfillment and happiness in their careers. I help people do that as well.
Cool. That's an interesting thing you said about training and then one-to-one coaching. And we have a program for helping coaches who want to work in the corporate space. And as I'm sure you're aware, it can be quite hard to crack that particular thing. And you know, we've kind of finessed marketing as an individual into a corporate space, and being able to stand up and be counted even amongst these massive organizations with hundreds of coaches. And one of the things that came out of one of our discussions is that corporations like to throw money at training, but teaching somebody something doesn't change a culture. They can have the knowledge, but they don't necessarily take it, I was going to say, into them like the word Blackpool through a stick of rock, but you probably don't know what I'm talking about.
No idea.
Okay, Blackpool rock is like it's like a bar of candy, minty candy, and it has the word Blackpool all the way through it. So if you snap it in half, it says Blackpool. So it's an expression, DNA, like your DNA.
Yes.
But if you have an organisation that's put some training in place, or you as an individual deliver the training, and then you coach, then you can embed that training, and you actually make that training make a difference, rather than that thing that we all do where we've been sent on a training program. It was absolutely brilliant. We loved it. We take the book back, we put it in our drawer, and we carry on the way we were before. Nothing changes.
Nothing changes. And as a trainer, and what training organisations do, in my experience at least, they give you what I call a happy sheet right at the end of the day, which is the evaluation form. And you're going, this was amazing. This is life-changing. I'm going to implement all of these ideas. And you fill out the happy sheet, tell them they're brilliant at their training, and then do what you did, and then file it and never pull it out again. Whereas if you actually send the evaluation sheet 2 weeks later and change your questions up, you will get a different response.
Yeah.
So what I do is I find it, is that your coffee?
No, it's my dog. He's just
your dog.
He's now under my
My dogs are the best listeners ever. If you want to practice coaching, I highly recommend getting a dog. So anyway, so what I've done is I look at business from two ways. And I mentioned before we get on the call, I'm a business person that's become a coach. A lot of your clientele and followers are coaches trying to start a business. So I feel like I'll say the word lucky, but I've learned the hard way, and I've invested money in businesses in the past, only 2 small businesses. I'm not a billionaire or anything like that, of course, but it does help. And it doesn't matter what business you do, people have to have a big enough problem and the money to pay for it. Absolutely. And I've got private clients, and I've had private clients, and a lot of them have a big enough problem, but they didn't have the funds to pay for it. If you want to make a coaching business and you want to make a living out of coaching, then I feel that some people would really benefit from it broadening their horizons a little bit. And if you don't want to be a trainer, don't, but might be able to put together a workshop. How has your past professional experience supported you so far, and how can that move you forward with your coaching? What I do is, probably some people at the ICF may turn over a bit and go, but I use mentor coaching in collaboration with this training. So we talk about the lesson that we just had. What do you think about that? What will you implement? Do you want to ask more questions? Things like that.
And how can we take your view of the training that you've just had and embed it into your, like Blackpool Rock? How can we get it all the way through you so that it becomes part of you and not just something that you learnt? Exactly. It's so important. It's almost like a blind spot for a lot of organisations, that they think that if they throw enough money at L&D, which is basically training, that they can change a culture, which of course you can't. You can't until you've got it embedded. But to what you said about the ICF turning in their grave, to use an analogy, yes. I'm not so sure that they do, because I think that there is a level of realism. Actually, as I'm talking to you, there are two views here. One of which I support entirely, and the other of which gets on my nerves a bit. So the one that I support entirely is that coaching is a tool, and it's a fantastic tool that goes really well with mentoring, or with training, or with consulting, or with a plethora of other skills that you may well already have. The other view, which I'm not so supportive of, is when organisations try to make coaching this entirely cerebral, academic, highbrow thing that shouldn't be tainted by commercialism, or, you know, that if you need to make a living from your coaching, that you're somehow inferior, and that marketing's a dirty word, and all of that nonsense. Of course, I don't support that. No. But I think that the people that are on this side, this kind of highbrow thing, if they could just get off their pedestal for a minute and go, that's all very well, but you're not going to get the world coached by doing that. You're only going to get the select few coaching each other, and come over to this side and go, right, how can we change the world? Because that's my why. I believe that the whole world needs to be coached. Yes. And until there are enough coaches who understand how to find clients who can pay them so they can
That's right.
afford to coach for a
Exactly.
living, then the world won't get coached.
And that's it. And my reference to the ICF, sorry, is about, so mentor coaching, I don't even know if that's the right word. That's what I call it. So a mentor, I've been there before you, and I can show you the path I took, and you may or may not choose to do what I did. It doesn't matter to me. That's mentor coaching based on the training topic. So I'm not sitting there going into a deep dive into exploring their goals and getting a contract. And then, now we can, and we do sometimes, people go, oh, look, I don't want to talk about this, the training, but I've got this conversation I've got coming up and I'm not sure how it's going to go. Boom, I put my coach's hat back on as a coach, and I leadership coach the doodles out of them, right? And we get some insights, and they have these moments and they have these ahas, and it's beautiful. And so we certainly do that. So yeah. It's not just about sitting back as a coach and asking lots of questions. It's not that.
No.
And if you're a coach now and you're trying to have a business, and you think, if you're having doubts and saying, well, can I actually have a coaching business? I don't have any clients and things like that. My message to people today is, have a think about what else you can do. And if you don't want to, I don't want to be a trainer, I don't have any skills in that. What about if you, I don't want to give 1,000 ideas out here, but what if you approached a training organization that maybe or someone knows, that's all about the networking, and say, hey, I see you run this type of course, whatever it may be, whatever your niche may be, I've got some experience in that. What if you combine that with coaching? What would that look like for you and your clients? I'll get a bit of a kickback from it. Thanks very much. Whatever. I don't know. But there's ideas like that.
Yeah. And the alternative, of course, is to come and talk to me.
Yeah. Well, of course. I should have said that first.
But yeah, absolutely. I think the thing, we had a little chat before we came on, and the thing that you said that's absolutely true and gets some of these cerebral academic coaches hot under the collar is that coaching is a tool. It's a tool. And it's like, it's, people try to sell the tool instead of selling the outcome.
Exactly.
If you've got a plumber knocking at your door because you've got flood in the kitchen, you don't care what spanner he's going to use. You don't. What you care is that the flood in the kitchen's gone.
Yep.
And so many coaches are going, look, I've got a snap-on spanner, I've got a new fancy hammer, look at me with all my tools, and nobody cares. Nobody cares.
That's exactly right. So what's worked for me, and I'm happy to share with people, and it doesn't mean they have to do this, but I talk about outcomes. Mm-hmm. I talk about how people are different when they've worked with me. Mm-hmm. That's what I talk about. How are people different? If you can write a sentence of how are people different once they've worked with you, it makes a difference. Now, full disclosure, Sarah, I help people as part of my career coaching side of it to start a business, to launch a new business. And I've had a bit of success with that. And it's such an amazing privilege to be a part of someone's journey in that, because that's something they're really passionate about. And I ask them the same question. It doesn't matter what type of business you have. If someone's not different after they've worked with you in such a positive way, you've made an impact, a transformation of sorts, coaching word, then people, it's going to be hard to sell that, we'll call it, and talk about how people are different. I also don't say, so much that I'm a coach. I tell stories. So if you haven't done my coaching and you want to be a coach, first of all, coach your pants off, coach your friends, family, colleagues, ex-colleagues, your dog. Just get some experience under your belt, and then talk about this transformation, talk about the stories. I tell people that stories of this person with this, and then when they finish working with me, they were this. And that's how I can explain what I do, because it is a very difficult, non-tangible thing to talk about with coaching.
Well, the thing about coaching, unlike any other professional service, so if we were lawyers, accountants, architects, I could go on listing all these professional services, and we wanted to set up shop and market ourselves, everybody knows what we do. They might not know the finer details. They might not know that I only practice civil litigation and not family law, but they know what a lawyer does. The problem with trying to market yourself as a coach, there's two problems. Problem number one, nobody has a clue what we do. And problem number two is that they all think that they have a clue, and they're wrong.
Yep.
That puts us at a disadvantage from the get-go. And so trying to market, overcoming limiting beliefs and removing mental barriers and all of that process stuff, coaches just find it so frustrating. But the truth is, and it's a really hard truth, and I'm sure that you'll back me up on this one, is that if your business doesn't have any clients, it isn't a business, it's a hobby.
Correct.
And it could be a really expensive hobby by the time you've paid out for your office and your website and your training and your this and your that and the other, and you're sitting there going, well, this is great, but where are my clients? But
Yes.
without clients, you don't have a business, full stop.
Yep.
So you don't need the website and the fancy this, that, and the other. What you need to start with is your first client, and then your
Yep.
second client. And then when you've had enough clients that you've got some money in the pot, then start building websites and all of the other stuff. Don't do it the other way around.
Totally agree, sir. That's the best place to start. Avoid the shiny objects. There's so many things I see out there. I'm targeted because of the algorithms on Facebook, etc. Because I'm a coach, people, make 10 grand in 2 weeks and things like that. I guess experienced and smart enough to avoid that. And if you need money, don't just be a coach. Get a job.
Yes.
Go and do a job and do coaching on the side. It's okay.
Yeah.
I've had clients in different states in Australia. I've had a client in California. As you know, I may be having a client soon in the UK. It's fine if we do it, it's fine if we don't. But we made it work by working around different time zones, and I've coached after hours for people, because some people are in their day job. There's different ways to do it. There's no goal without a sacrifice.
Absolutely. I made a video, it might be this week's video, last week's video, in which I said you're never going to find time to market your coaching business. You'll never find the time. What you have to do is make the time. And in order to make the time, you have to move your priorities around.
Yep.
And that's the truth. You can't do this as I'm just going to call myself a coach and build it and they will come. Yep. Kevin Costner style. Do you know that film was in 1987?
Wow, that's the year I was born. No, it's not.
Nice try. Nice try. So how did you, I know you told me you had a business and you sold it, and then you had another one and you sold that as well. And then what made you go, hang on a second? So from there now, how did you find coaching? Where did you first see it?
Yeah, I guess I was in corporate world after I sold those businesses. I moved from the country, Australia, to a capital city, and which was perfect, and I was very happy to do that. I think it started with, like I said earlier, that fulfillment piece, and I went to who do I want to help? I sort of went, who do I most want to help in the world? And it's funny, it's a question I ask my career coaching clients. Who do you most want? Who would you help for free? Those sort of questions. Get the mind ticking over a little bit. Yeah. If money was no issue, who would you help for free? So now, and I thought, I see so many new leaders struggling. I see a lot. And that sort of got me started on it. And then, like I said, I had some choices around how can I help them the best? And I did some research, as we do, and discovered that coaching, I'm an advice giver, and often it's one of my challenges still, and I'm an experienced coach now, but I still have to bite my tongue often enough to sort of go, don't give advice, because it does help serve the person better when you're not so much giving advice. And that's why I looked at becoming a consultant and so on. But when I joined coach training and started coaching people, and I wasn't giving myself the opportunity to give advice, it was perfect, because I'd give advice and people wouldn't even ask me for it. It's different life experiences and so on. And I funny now in my coaching style, I will give advice, but I'll ask permission to do that. You know the timing. Would you like my help with that? I have some experience in that. Yeah, exactly right. Because you're there to serve the person, and I do that fully and most wholeheartedly, and with authenticity as well. Level 1 coaching is, possibly using the GROW model and working through that. As you move up the levels, it's all about helping that person whatever way you can, and that's what I've sort of discovered with my business mind, to be honest. So yeah, I fell in love with it, and having a business background has really helped. And I know that for me, the two most important things that have helped my success in previous businesses is the marketing and the administration. So you got to get your admin and your processes and your systems down pat, and you've got to do your marketing. And marketing is not selling, and I have a marketing degree. I'm not going to give you a lecture on this. You know this already. Most of the people that follow you will know your message. Marketing is not selling. It's showing a presence
Marketing is becoming visible to the kind of people you want to help the most.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
Do you know what, Rex? I think that's probably a great place to stop.
Perfect. Thank you so much for having me.
It's been so nice to talk to you. Thank you so much. We had a bit of jiggery pokery, didn't we, around the time zones and how we were going to speak, and the fact that this isn't going to be live streamed, it's going to be recorded, and on and on and on. And yet here we are, and that was a lovely conversation. Thank you.
I'll take 90% of the blame for that. Okay, maybe more. It was a great conversation. Thank you so much, Sarah.
You're so welcome.